mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. It's alive! It's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I'm joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Bonjour, Danielle.
Danielle. Oh, ho, ho. She's mixing it up.
Don't expect me to say any more than that. That's you know,
That's totally fine.
year 9 French. That's where it stops.
And that's where it ends.
Yeah, that's where it ended.
Oh, we are back for another episode, and we are doing some things very differently to what we've done in the past. I feel anyway, and I am really looking forward to it. But what I want to say firstly is I did notice last week I got quite angry on the second part of the Rick Baker episodes. I see where it started and I see where it ended. And I'm very sorry for my rage last week. You brought Psycho up and something just went in this.
I shouldn't have. It was all my fault. I should have just skipped over it. I should have known better.
Well, there's no rage this week because this week we are going down the Nordic route of folk horror.
We are.
So I got the disclaimer out of the way with, and we can get on into this because I'm so excited. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the Facebook page, Discord, or the comments section where we can have an open discussion. What we won't have, though, is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism. There you go.
Don't be a dick.
Oh, look at that. Right in there. Didn't even have to prompt her.
Nope.
Oh, right. Today it's serious talk because I've got my glasses on.
I nearly had mine on. I thought no, because my light might reflect and you're all right, yours doesn't. But
It's because my camera is at such an angle. It doesn't quite get it. But I have to wear glasses all the time. I just don't. And today I needed to because my head was absolutely pounding. So hence the reason why they are on my face. But today's episode is the 2017 British folk horror based on the 2011 book by the same name by Adam Neville. 4 friends take a hiking trip through a Swedish old-growth forest where they encounter an ancient evil presence. They should have went to Vegas. This Monsters of North gives you the ritual.
oh yes.
Da, da, da. And I actually have, to kick us all off, an interesting fact about the tagline, because the tagline is they should have went to Vegas.
Yeah.
They was actually changed in the promotion of this movie to they should have went to Ibiza. And the reason for that is because I have wrote my notes so small, I am going to have to bring my book a little bit closer. I remember this. It was to do with the Vegas massacre.
Yeah, was it the MGM grand shooting out the window?
Yeah. Happened at the same time the promotion was happening, so they changed it to they should have gone to Ibiza, which I think is in really good taste.
I also think it works better for a bunch of lads from England.
Yes.
I mean, Vegas is all well and good. It's not the Hangover though, and we are just for a lads week. It wouldn't work to go all the way to Vegas for a week and come back.
No.
So I think Ibiza settles it. It makes it more British lads holiday for me. So
yeah, oh definitely, absolutely. But if you're looking at it like a more international score,
yeah,
Vegas is your choice really. The movie and the book. So we've watched the movie, obviously. The book, we are both literally halfway through it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have enough of the characters difference from book to movie.
I also got a little synopsis of the book
as
well. So I know what technically happens and how vastly different it is from the movie. So not to spoil it because I don't want to do that too much, but it's not so much where you are in the book, which I think is where you are in the movie. But I think what they did with the movie was incredibly clever from how they've adapted it from the book. So the core premise is still there.
Yeah.
So they've taken that. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I love about this the most, and everybody's going to groan when I say this, is a certain factor for a certain man who owns a company called the Imaginarium.
Yes.
Yeah, my favorite monkey, isn't it? It's Andy Serkis.
It's one of my facts.
He bought the rights to this in 2011.
That shocked me. It really shocked me his name was actually in this at all.
Yeah. He's classed as an executive producer. I don't know how much he had to do with it. Executive producers don't really have anything to do with anything.
No.
They're just a name on the list. But because he owns the Imaginarium, which was the company that made the movie, well, he's I don't know if he's a partner or if he outright owns it himself, but he got a bill in, he got a name, because I caught it probably on about the third or fourth watch, because I've watched this movie a lot. I love this film, and everything about it is just so well done.
Yeah,
like how cerebral it is for the first, I want to say maybe hour and 10 before you really get to the thick of it. Like how much you're having to read between the lines, how much you don't realize you're seeing as well. Like it is shown to you so many times, but you're not paying attention because you're too busy looking at the human interaction. And I know I said last week or the week before, I don't always care about, when it comes to a monsters movie, I want to see the monster and I don't care about the character driven. This wasn't the case with this movie. I actually really gave a shit about these four lads, and I, being the age that I am now and knowing that I'm supposed to be old, I am older than they're supposed to be there, and knowing that when I've grown up, they are like four of the lads that you do know growing up, regardless. They are your quintessential British lads. You've got, that are
the university pals, the university friends. It's kind of like, it's an obligated friendship.
Yeah.
It's not genuine. It's an obligated friendship.
Yeah.
So I totally get that aspect. I watched this on Tuesday.
Same way, yeah.
And I've seen it before and I remember loving it. But when you said let's do the ritual, I was like, oh Christ. If you were to say let's do this tomorrow, I would struggle to like. So I went into this thinking I need to look at everything, and you are totally 100% right. I was looking more at the Luke character, which is Rafe Spall. I'll get his name right this week. But I was looking more at Luke because obviously Luke is a massive part of this story. But why is Luke a massive part? What is Luke's feelings? Where is Luke going? Why is Luke Luke? And I am totally missing everything else until I start reading the facts, and I'm like, oh, you saw what now? And this was where now? And that's not the movie I've just watched. But yeah, but that's me. I like characters. I like to know these people. I need to give a shit about these people.
I think that's the thing with a lot of movies for me. You tend to, it is an element of desensitization, like it is with horror for me. Like you can see 1,000 slasher kills, or then you watch The Blob and you see someone sucked down a drain hole and you're going, oh, at that. But then you see someone get the head chopped off and gored with a machete and you're like,
yeah.
It's a similar thing with character acting. But that was the thing about when they did an interview with all these guys, and they all sat there and they said, we didn't know we were shooting a horror film until it got to the horror part. It never felt like there was this big thing that we had to do, this climax to the movie, until we got right near shooting that part. And they were all ever so honest about it, which I thought was great. Because it seemed like they were very much themselves.
Yeah, and it works. Because to be honest, the way that this looks is it's like a first time watcher. The opening scene, which, oh my god, fuck me. The opening scene makes you think the next part, because you literally jump straight into the next bit. And then as soon as you're there, you're like, oh well, this is a story of the need, what had just happened. They need to build on that. They need to work on that. And it is to a certain degree. But that's not how it turns out. It takes a 180. And the 180 is such a natural 180. It's not like I was comparing it to Dreamcatcher. So a Dreamcatcher is your four friend story, and then flip it to an alien. And you know, that doesn't happen in
And
this.
Donnie Wahlberg's in it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But that doesn't happen in this. It's a natural progression, and it's such a great story.
And
And
it's
the
atmospheric as well. They
oh
managed to,
shit, man, the score in this.
but that's the thing as well. There's no soundtrack as in you've got like Dua Lipa doing a freaking hit song for it. You know,
Yeah.
it is just like it is a score. It is not Celtic, but you know, there's the Nordic influence. You can hear like it's very primal. There's a lot of drums or strings and it's all very in the background, and you don't even know you're hearing it sometimes, but it's there, and it's which is the premise to most of the movie, to be fair. You
Yeah.
don't always know it's there, but it's there, you know. So I think the biggest question for me is the beginning opening scene where they're having the lads banter in the pub.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all deciding, oh, where should we go? No, I don't want to go there. No one wants to go to Belgium. No, hi to Belgium, by the way.
Oh yes,
you know,
hi to our Belgium listeners. Thanks for joining
but
us.
that's what they say in the film. This isn't us saying that. You know. And they turn around and they're going, oh, I don't want to go to Amsterdam. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And Rob says, the fifth member, he says, oh, let's go to. I want to go camping. I want to go hiking. I want to go and go through the Nordic Swedish like border walk thing, and they're all like, oh no thanks, don't sound any good. So they're still debating it when they walk out of the pub, and Luke and Rob go in to get some alcohol, because the way that it's not laid out, that it is laid out in the book, is that Luke's the only person that doesn't have responsibility.
So in the book, the opening scene doesn't actually happen at all.
Nothing happens like this in the book. No.
The open and I like that change.
Yeah.
I really like that, because it gives you Luke without someone having to be descriptive and tell you about it. So
Yeah.
these other 3 or 4 guys have their shit together in what you would class as social shit together.
Norms, yeah.
Yeah, they've got jobs, they've got wife, they've got kids, they've got money, they've got responsibilities. Luke doesn't.
No.
Luke is Luke. And when he goes to go into this off license, which in America is a liquor store, he takes in, who's the fifth member? Rob, that's it, Rob. Takes in Rob with them, and then we're like, no, we can't, we're not drinking on a school night. Like, yeah, we've got responsibilities, man.
Gotta get kids up to school in the morning, you know.
Exactly, go do the school run. That, not us, but we don't have that kind of responsibility. Which is good. But yeah, it's showing you that Rob is very different from the rest of them. What it also shows is Rob's fear.
Yeah.
Rob's a very big scaredy cat. And I think that plays a huge part in his journey into the Swedish.
Oh, you mean Luke?
Luke, sorry, not Rob, because Rob don't get there.
No.
Luke, yes,
Yeah.
Luke. It's the fear in Luke plays a huge part of his character and his journey into the Swedish forest.
Yeah. Luke, it's that whole, it goes back to the whole thing of fight or flight, doesn't it? You know, like, I think I would have thought, had Rob been further down the aisle of the shop, he probably would have hid round there with Luke. Because why wouldn't he? You know, but he got clocked and Luke didn't, and that was just the way fate dealt the hand. Yes, Luke could have jumped out and coshed them, but there was 2 of them. But what would it have done?
What would it have done?
Exactly.
Two lives would have been lost that night instead of 1.
And was it a pipe or machete?
It was a pipe.
Because I couldn't, for the love nor money, right? The noise it made when they swang it, it made like a knife noise, but everything I've seen says it was a pipe.
They said that they smashed his head in his skull in half, but to me, what was in his hand was a pipe. Now, that scene really upsets us, because I feel like if I was in Luke's position, I don't know if I wouldn't have done anything different.
I don't see anything wrong with what he did. Yes, he could have done those things, but you don't know until you're in a situation.
Exactly.
what the hell you would do. You can stand there and throw fucking bottles at them and bottles at them and bottles at them. What's that going to achieve? They're eventually going to power through it and come for you. Or, it's still not going to change the fact that he's already been coshed once and he's on the floor. You know, if he'd have even gone out there before then, what would have it achieved? I don't understand why they hold him solely. Well, especially Dom. Dom is a prick. Dom is that friend that you dread. You dread having Dom come out with you because you always know after 2 pints he's going to be moany. He's going to be that lolly friend that lolls about and's like, he's either maudlin as hell or he gets so drunk so quick he ruins everyone's weekend.
Yeah,
he's that guy.
Is very evident. Hutch is the friend you want.
Hutch is the friend you want. Hutch is the guy who knows everything about everything.
Yeah, and he is the friend you want because he was very fucking honest with Luke.
Yeah.
Like he said, I don't blame you, but he said later on something along the lines of, what was it? After they had their big argument and Hutch went up to him and Luke says, do you agree with what they're saying? And he just went, I don't know, mate.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. He's so conflicted.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I don't know what I would have done in that circumstance, but I still don't see anything wrong with Luke not coming out and helping Rob, because Rob should have just given him his wedding ring. Yes, don't get me wrong. If I had to part with this, I'd be devastated. But if it was a matter of someone hitting me and killing me
life and death,
over a bit of metal, I'm sorry, you can have the bit of metal.
Yeah.
It's my life or a ring. He gave him his wallet. He gave him his, he gave him everything. And then he said, I want your ring. They took the ring anyway.
Exactly. Just why wouldn't you have given it? And there was one thing as well. Why didn't he just pull him towards him? They knew he was there as well. They knew Luke was there because Rob kept looking at him.
He did. He kept looking back at him like that. And I was like,
they know he's there.
More obvious.
So they could have quite easily gone for him, but they were so close to the door. He was only a swing away and the door was that way. But why wouldn't, what were the other three doing while this was all going on?
They were all on their phones outside, weren't they? Let's be honest, or talking to their, texting their wives or whatever. It was those.
Yeah, I just think, what were you doing? You sit there and think about Luke, just because he was in the shop. You were outside of it. What were you doing? Dicks.
I think that, and that's the big. This is the ongoing theme of the movie. I think it's the sheer guilt Luke feels for not responding the way that he thinks people think he should have, rather than how he felt at that time was the right way, which was self-preservation.
His nightmares in the forest bring him right back to that moment. He never leaves it. Because
that first one, when he's in basically the opening scene is him, they go over the initial murder of Rob by these two, as I've seen it so many. Right, I will say one thing. The US YouTube videos I've seen that review this really, really don't understand British humour or the way we word things, because they weren't getting a lot of the banter. They weren't getting a lot of the. They kept going. They found it really odd. We referred to them as junkies, the two guys that robbed Rob, basically.
Yeah.
And they kept calling them meth heads, and I'm like, well, no, we don't really have that here.
No.
They're either skagheads, junkies. There's many, many different terms they get used for over
Rats.
here.
Rats
Plus,
is
all round
a good one.
shitty humans is the one I'm going to go for. But that they just didn't get the banter side of, how we wind each other up. We're never complimentary to our friends. We never pat them on the back and go,
I mean, have you met my friends on a Sunday when they get together? All we do is just constant banter.
We never pat each other on the back and say good job. Our version of good job is get fucked. It
really is. The minute you came on, you said, what did I say when we logged on today? And I went, you tit.
Me with my displaced anger management skills.
I was going, you tit. See, that's what we do. Well, banter is, it's very different to others.
We insult each other, which means we like you. If you get insulted by one of us, it means we like you.
Exactly. This was all shot in the Carpathian Mountains in Romania.
I know,
All
when
of
I heard that, I
it.
was so jealous because it's like so close to Bran Castle and around
Yeah.
that area. I was like,
Bastards. Yeah, absolute bastards. But going back to the movie, so because book wise, I haven't gotten to I don't know if we haven't really gotten to the nitty gritty of it. Got the friendship side, got the that side of it, but not really the nitty gritty of it. So I'm gonna stick mainly to the movie.
yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
The book,
So
I think
it's a
it's
very
higgledy
different.
piggledy. Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very different. Yeah.
And if I if I given it more time, I possibly could have done the movie and the book, because the book isn't exactly a long book. It was 11 hours. I literally work a
Yeah.
10-hour working day. I could have fit that in. But and we could have done it side by side. But when I was listening to the book, I was more excited for the movie.
Yeah. I think
And
what
I know people have said on Facebook it's brilliant and it is in
Yeah.
its own right. I just find the movie a bit more interesting. I'm so sorry, Mike.
I think for me, and it will come out later why, well, in depth more why, I think the reveal of the lead up, the suspense, the reveal, all of that sort of thing for me was unlike anything I've seen in a movie for a very, very long time with this one.
I
You
do want
know,
to get into that later on.
yeah,
Absolutely. I even wrote down a description of what it is I saw.
I've
Not
got a lot to do with the monster, quote unquote, for those at home that
yeah.
listen on iTunes and Spotify.
Yeah.
Quote
I
unquote.
wrote descriptions. I'm thinking of you audio listeners. But yeah, I love the movie aspect of it more. And I do have some differences between movie and book, especially when it goes into the monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the murders happened and instantly you are in the Swedish mountains.
Yeah.
And interesting fact number 2, the way that they come out of the tent is the exact order that they die.
Oh, really? I never
Yes.
knew that. Oh, that's
Yes.
good. I like that.
It's like my Golden Girls moment. There is a moment in Golden Girls where they are all standing in a line and it is exactly the order of their deaths. Isn't that weird?
I'm rewatching that every morning before I go to work.
Fuck yes, isn't it amazing? Isn't it so ahead of its time?
I honestly, I can see why basically every gay man has this as a sense of humor and holds these women as pinnacles of
Oh my gods.
gods. Yeah, they I mean, I've seen it when I was a kid when it came out. I watched it originally, but like now I'm older and you can look back at it with more experience, you
Adult
appreciate
eyes.
it a bit more. But the worst thing is they're supposed to only be like 10 years older than me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've spoke about that before and how people do look a bit older in the 80s than what they would have now.
Just a little bit.
But B. Arthur is my absolute queen. I watch Golden Girls at least once a year. I fucking love it. It's just so ahead of its time. It's great.
I love Betty White, but Estelle Leonard is probably my sense of humor. So.
Mwah. Blanche, man. I just love them. I love the way that they call each other slags and think they can get away with it.
It's Betty's stories about dwarves and get stuck down toilets and diving, and you can watch everybody just wetting themselves in the background, trying hard not to break character and they're doing it. So
and she does it so straight faced. Betty White, you fucking legend.
she was.
Some monsters.
Yeah.
Big monsters.
Number one.
Yeah. But yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, so they're getting out the tent order of their deaths. Which obviously is a would you class as a death hag? Am I a death hag? Yeah.
Well, you can be if you want.
I mean, I know a lot of shit about death, so
Thanks to us then.
Yeah. But yeah, so they get out the tent and off on their walk. Now, what I find hilarious is what you mentioned earlier about Dom being that friend. Because instantly Dom hurts his fucking knee. What the fuck did Dom do to that knee, by the way? Because that did not look like he just hit it.
I thought he'd done his ankle because he fell down a hole. So I thought it would have made more sense that he'd done his knee, his ankle, not his knee. But yeah, knee, choice, ankle. Dom, at the minute he did it, I was like, oh no. Because you just know he's going to make the biggest fuss. I mean, don't get me wrong. you see towards the end that he weren't playing up. It was genuinely bad.
Yeah.
Like it's like it happened. I think there's an element of Boy Who Cried Wolf with Dom. Like,
Oh, absolutely. And I think Hutch knew that because he just kept going, mate, it's not bad. Yes, it's not great, but it's not bad.
yeah,
You need to walk. We need to walk. We need to keep moving. Fucking love Hutch.
yeah.
Love
He's
the
such a
actor.
practical. Yeah,
Loved him. Loved the character. He was saying everything you were saying. As you are talking to the telly, you need to move. Like, regardless of how much pain you are,
yeah.
you still cannot fucking sit here.
Yeah, there's a
Can't.
couple of things. There's a thing the most I liked. The difference between the book and the movie in this respect is that Phil is completely different. How they describe Phil in the book is like
Yeah.
Boris Bloody Johnson. That's what
Yes.
it sounds like. And in my head, when you're listening to the book, that's what I see for Phil. But they did keep the element that Phil was very underprepared. Phil had blisters. Phil was wearing jeans. Phil was doing dumb shit. He had a hoodie on.
He had a
Do you know what I
hoodie
mean?
on.
He was completely underprepared. Everybody else was in like extreme wet weather gear and knew what they were doing. And Phil just went in his jeans, with
Yeah.
a pair of probably Timberlands on or something. He like modern, and I
As you
like the
do.
fact they carried that over. It worked well for me.
Yeah. So yeah, they're on their adventure. And is it the first incident? Is it the cabin with the
No,
altar?
it's the elk in the tree.
Oh my God, how the fuck could I forget that? Because I jumped out of my skin when it came up. So yes, big massive elk, very, very much foreshadowing, hanging in the tree with its
About
guts.
8 to 10 feet up.
Yeah, with its guts just on the floor.
And
As you do as you walk, and they treat it so normal at the start.
I think like when they stumble up to it, they're like, what would do that? Is there bears? And I'm thinking, how the hell would a bear get that up there like that unless there was two of them and they were cognitively being able to communicate into a point where they both went, oh, we're going to put that up there, we're going to hang it out. And there was no contraptions, there was no hoists, there was no man-made tools to get it up there. I would have been like, right, I'm turning around right the fuck now, and I am going back the way we came, and I don't care. See ya, bye.
And
that would have been me.
If they did, none of this would have happened.
No.
No, none of this would have happened. So what they've done is, that's what they've done. They've taken a shortcut.
Yes, they have, because Dom's whinging and Phil's whinging. Hutch and Luke can't be bothered with it, which makes perfect sense because, to be honest with you, I completely understand the want to think, right, okay, but if we go as the crow flies, we'll get there in half the time and we can just put our feet up and these two can shut up and we can just chill. Yeah. So I understand the choice that Hutch made, and it made perfect sense at the time. But Hutch should have done a bit more research before making such a decision.
Yeah. Because they took a shortcut through the forest, and that's when things go tits up. Because as you will find, stay out of the forest and you're fucking fine. But stay in it and everything goes to wrong. Wow, English just absolutely failed me there. Goes wrong. And that's when they see the elk, and then they end up at the cabin with the altar. Did you get heritage vibes from that?
Well, put it this way, Hereditary.
Hereditary, yes.
Well, I know this came out way before Hereditary, didn't it? Hereditary was 2018, 2019.
Possibly. It was before the world went to shit, so yeah.
Yeah, about 2018. Hereditary, this is the thing about Ari Aster for me. I feel like he does what a lot of movie guys do. He picks and pikes elements from movies and he manages to put them in his own and make people believe that he was the one that has pioneered it in that specific genre.
Midsummer is a perfect fucking example of exactly what you just said there. Yes.
For me, The Ritual outclasses Midsummer. Don't get me wrong, Midsummer has its moments. Obviously, I can't think of the word for it in Swedish, so I do apologize. But where the old people realize they're not contributing, so they kill themselves and throw themselves. Yeah, and that scene is so visceral and real. And watching the whole thing from falling from the initial jump to when they hit the floor, it's great editing because you think it's actually happened and it hasn't. But and then obviously the end scene as well, which I won't spoil the end scene for people. But those two scenes, you think to yourself, "Oh, right, blimey, Jesus, that's where we are." But Ari Aster, like I said, he has this notion of being able to pick things from other movies, and he must have seen this film because
Had to have, because that was so,
yes,
that was, because it as they walk into a cottage, which, by the way, I'm sorry, I ain't walking in there
it's
for
lashed
shit.
down. They're all soaked to the bone.
I'd
They've
rather
made it
be
to a tiny
wet.
clearing, and there's like these. It's a thing apparently on the Swedish Trail where there are a lot of these old pioneer cabins, they're called, or something along those lines, where people used to live that farmed or tended the lands at the time. So a lot of them are old and rotted and abandoned. But it helps as a way station for people that are
Got
walking
you.
out there. But in theory, this part where they're at isn't really walked that often, and they shouldn't. It's one of those things where they're stumbled across somewhere where technically they probably shouldn't have been.
No, as
Yeah.
very evident when they walk in the bugger. The altar is, oh my gosh, it's like wicker, isn't it? Why is it always wicker with these people?
It's all twigs. Twigman.
Wicker and twigs. It was a twigman without a head, without
Yeah.
hands. He didn't have hands.
In the
It
book,
was,
he had human hands sewn to it. The version,
oh
the goat thing in the book,
yes.
it had mummified human hands sewn to the goat. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, because I was in the midst of brushing my teeth as that bit was being read, and I was
Yeah.
like, because the minute you said where it was, I went and got it downloaded straight away and played it straight away. I thought I'll get a fucking head start. And yeah, that bit came on. I was like, oh, okay. Very different, but I liked this one.
Yeah.
It's the best thing about this is it's scary. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh shit, it's scary because it's fucking gory, or it's fucking scary.
And a lot of that is down to the director of photography, the lighting choices, the camera that they used, because they used, for the majority of this movie, it's based at nighttime. So the lighting that you get is either by torchlight or by firelight. So
Yeah.
you don't really get you get a fair bit of daylight shots, but those daylights are under cover of the trees. So you're not getting any sunshine, you're not getting any natural light, so to speak. So this whole film is like grey, and then it's
Well,
black.
that's one of my notes, because I had like I was writing stuff down as I was watching just to make sure that I pointed, but the color of the sky,
Yeah.
that was absolutely breathtaking, because it wasn't too dark and it wasn't too light. It was just perfect enough. The sky really did take my eye to it. But that fucking wicker fucking headless bastard altar thing give me the heebie-jeebies straight away, and instantly got Phil
So
right.
yeah, it scared the life out of Phil. But from what I could tell, describing it to you guys, it's like a wicker torso with
Yeah.
no head, and the hands, there's no actual physical hands, there's antlers instead of hands. And
Yes.
then the body goes down, but there's technically not legs, but there's like these stumps that have chicken feet on them. Was it chicken feet?
Was it
They
chicken?
looked
It must have been.
it looked like turkey or chicken feet, like where they have three or four pointy toes and a very skinny ankle kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. Whether that's what it was or not, I don't know. But it had these chicken feet attached to it. And it was in like this room, which was in like a loft space of the cabin. And it was all, you just
Yeah.
knew it smelled of damp. You could smell it, even though
You
you're
could
not. Yeah,
oh
do you know
yeah.
what I mean? It had that whole,
I smelt this whole film.
yeah, smelled of
From
forest and damp.
yeah, wet grass.
And fire and like charcoaly bonfire.
And I was just thinking to myself, how much would my hay fever hate me for being right there right now? I don't think there's enough inhalers in the world that would have gotten me through that trek. But the the first motion of anything is untoward. Yes, they've seen the elk.
Yeah.
And they're trying to explain it away in their heads and to each other as to, you know, the whole it could have been a bear.
Or it was hunters or something or whatever. Yeah.
When they're in the cabin, this is their first experience of, I don't want to use the word supernatural.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
But it isn't. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? It's like, it's almost like fever dreams.
Yeah, it's like pagan-y, worshipy, like Odinism. I think I've seen it explained as loads of different versions, but like some sort of Odinism, not in the sense of this new sort of Hitler version of Odinism, but the original Odinism and the or it was paganism or Nordic.
It's Nordic. It's everything's Nordic because the ruins, the story, the creature,
Yeah.
it's all Nordic. But so that's probably about paganism. That's what they followed anyway. They were pagans.
Yeah. So I've seen so many different versions of like what they said it was, but they all circle back to being pretty much the same thing anyway. So
I remember writing something about Odin. I'm going to go to my actual smaller notes when we get to the creature because I had to write small to fit it all in. And it's all centered around the creature as well because I was just so fucking fascinated. Fascinated by it. So this is where the dreams start, and this is where Luke, you start to realize that it hasn't left Luke what happened by any stretch of the imagination, even if that's all we got from that night was Luke's nightmare. It really explained Luke a hell of a lot more than what you had just seen, because he does seem like a bit of a shell. Like he's just smoking his way through a hiking trip, which I thought was fucking brilliant.
And he's not there.
Yeah, there's nothing behind them eyes. He is just a shell of a man.
Yeah, he's there in body, but his head's like, you can tell it's just not there.
Mm-hmm. And you generally don't know up until the nightmare. Did he actually give a shit?
I kind of got the impression that they were just there out of duty at the beginning. Like when they're up on the hill and they've built the little tour. They see the little tour and they put all the stuff on.
That's right.
Like the little
say goodbye to their friend.
Yeah, to say goodbye to Rob, to mark the fact that they've done exactly what he wanted them to do. Put little photos up there, some bits and pieces, and there's that bit where Hutch is pouring out the booze, and you can see Robert is trying not to fucking laugh when he's doing it. Hutch is like, you can see him. He's really trying to, because there is this section where when he's pouring the booze, it's too long. It's like Family Guy long. You know what I mean? It's like, and it keeps going and it keeps going. And you're like, how the hell is there that much in there? You know, it's like it didn't make any sense. But yeah, so that's where it sets the scene that this is all for Rob. So they all just kept powering through because it was for Rob. But even at that point, you saw the guilt on Luke's face when they were commemorating Rob.
Yeah. So
you knew it's still with him at this point.
It's still sitting with him, but it's almost like he's trying to, I don't know how to word this right, because it is like he doesn't give a shit because he's so fucking empty that he has to not give a shit and not feel anything,
not let it in,
just fucking survive.
Correct.
That's how it comes across.
No, and that's exactly right. I mean, yeah, I can actually sympathize with that.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. God, I can imagine there's a lot of people who have felt like that just to be able to fucking put one foot in front of the other. But with the first nightmare, you get a realization that, oh shit, this is like, it fucking haunts him. And of course it would haunt him.
Yeah.
Like, why would it not? But it's not just Luke who's going through these experiences. Each and every person is having their own little, like, personal hell, really.
But I love the fact with this, that with the night in the cabin is one of two interpretations in my mind. It was either everybody was reliving their own demon, or it was a test by the monster to find which one it was, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, that he was after. Which one had the strongest fear, the guilt, the pain out of all of them, so he could mark that person.
That's exactly exactly how I described it to Anth, because the mark on his chest, that's when he gets it that night, doesn't he?
He does, because he wakes up outside, but he wakes up just as he's giving it, and he snaps out of it.
Foreshadowing on Dom's part, right there in that moment when he's shouting for his wife Gail. And
Hutch pisses himself.
Yeah, that's clearly out of fear. So, but you never find out Hutch's thing, do you?
You don't really find out specifically all of them in depth. You're alluded to, like, Phil keeps just alluding to the fact that why was he naked? Why was he up there? He doesn't understand. He doesn't get it.
Phil is actually found in front of the altar naked.
Absolutely butt naked. His clothes are stripped as he, like, all strewn over the floor up the stairs as you go up. Now, bearing in mind, it's pissing down. This cabin's got water coming through it. He must have been fucking freezing.
He must have been so cold. But he's kneeling down like he's like praying.
It. Yeah.
Worshipping, which is the main theme of this movie. Worship.
But then
I can't cross my feet. My slippers are so big. I'm gonna have to take them off. Sorry. I'm trying to cross my feet over and I can't.
But with Hutch, that's the one that eludes me the most, because it's like, obviously Gail is mentioned. So when it comes to Dom's death, when you come to Phil's as well, there's an element of something there as well. But with Hutch, him standing up and of wetting himself, that's all you see. You don't find out anything else about what he dreamed about, because it's like he point blank refuses to crumble, because he knows his job is to get everybody through. So he just steps up to the mark straight away and it's like, I've pissed myself. I don't want to talk about it. We've just got to get where we're going.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it.
Because everyone's trying to analyze everything, which, to be fair, given the circumstances, you probably should have, just to get a better idea of what you're up against. But in Dom's head, you are right. He just wants to get Hutch. He just wants to get the fuck out of there. So he's like, I don't want to psychoanalyze this. I'm embarrassed enough. I just want to get fucking home.
Which is how my brain would be. I'd be like, I'm not even going to fucking deal with that right now. I just want to get out and get gone.
Get me out of these trees.
Yeah. But then when they come out of the cabin, it's daylight, and they start to see the fact that there are runes marked all over the trees. And a lot of them are there's a circle rune, and that one means
right. I've got it here. I'm going to read it out to you to the best of my ability.
I know what the Y one means, with the stick in the middle with the Y on it. That's elk. That means elk.
Yeah. So the rune seen in the early part of the movie on the tree, as well as in the final act, is Orthla.
Yeah.
Ordel rune from the elder Frúthach. The rune of Or in the ancient written language of the Vikings is typically thought for as Odin's rune, though it also stands for heritage or estate.
So property, like ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, own. But yeah, it's the Odin rune. A lot of things to do with Odin in this, by the way.
Yeah. Which makes sense at the end. Well, not it does, because she does say it, that one of the people. So yeah, I'm just trying to remember if it's the lore afterwards where I got that from, or actually from the movie, and it is mentioned in the movie.
Well, the book in the book lore is different to the movie, because the monster
totally different monsters.
Yeah. So in the book, I'll say it now. In the book, the creature is. I'll not do the movie one, but the creature is. Oh, it's a girl. That's for one. It's a woman.
It's a lady goat, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Not in the movie though, but we'll get that later.
I'm grateful. I've got to be honest, because I think how they approach this in the movie.
The design of it. We will get to it, because I will just start spilling everything. I have laid everything on this fucking monster, because it is one of the most impressive ones we have ever covered. And with so much fucking depth to it.
Yeah.
As well.
I've got loads of notes to do with the monster. That is probably where the bulk of my research is. Because to find anything about this movie prior to the monster there isn't much substance. You've got the backstory on the actors. So if some of you don't know who Rafe Spall is, get out from under your rock. It is Timothy Spall from Auf Wiedersehen, Pet. It's
I'm sorry, was that a German accent or a Geordie accent?
That was something I don't know what come out of my mouth.
I'll do it. I'll do it in my native tongue.
Yeah.
Auf Wiedersehen, Pet.
That's what I said. Yeah. But he was a Brummie, wasn't he? He was.
He was the only Brummie. He's the radish.
He's also Peter Pettigrew. For those of you that don't know, Auf Wiedersehen, Pet. He is Peter Pettigrew in the Harry Potter.
Huge English character actor.
Massive.
But his son is one of the Andes. So let's not forget that.
He is also responsible for coining one of the most iconic lines from a movie, a British comedy, or shall we say Zomcom movie.
Can I see it?
Go on.
Hello, mate.
Well, there's that, but there's also the other one.
You got red on you.
You got red on you. That is Rafe Spall.
Yes.
In Shaun of the Dead. And when you go back and watch that, you don't associate Rafe Spall then with Rafe Spall now, because he lost a lot of weight. He lost a lot of weight. He
looks so different, but he's one of the Andes from Hot Fuzz, which is again part of the Cornetto trilogy and possibly one of my favorites. I fucking love that movie.
Rafe and Paddy, isn't it? Paddy
Constantine. Their lines together is absolutely hilarious. That movie is so good.
No one tells me nothing, Bill Bailey.
Oh, for the greater good.
Greater good.
So you have to finish it off. Me and Anthony always do. But yeah, Rafe Spall, he's just as legendary character actor, in my eyes anyway, as his dad is. I just think every person he plays is somebody completely different.
Yeah,
and in
really hates him in Dominion. Is it?
Yeah.
Lost Kingdom or Dominion? One of the new ones.
Dickhead in that.
Yeah. I'm glad he gets squished. But yeah, to me, it's like he's gathering momentum more and more the older he's getting. So it must be a thing lately.
His dad was like that though. Yeah. Like his dad didn't start, like it wasn't Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, and then off to the, he worked for that. I loved Timothy Spall did a great it was for English telly, and I don't know if any Americans got it, but it was the Enfield Haunting.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what it was called, but he played Maurice Grosse, the investigator who was part of the paranormal team.
Yes, it was it wasn't the Conjuring version, it was the Enfield. I'm sure it was the Enfield Haunting. They did like a British movie, didn't they?
Yeah, of essentially the Conjuring too, because it's apart from the Warrens didn't fucking bust the door open and say we're here to save the day, and it was pretty much Maurice Grosse.
Because I'm a pedo.
It was Maurice Grosse and his paranormal team who were part of a paranormal investigation thing, like a society, and it was him, and it was Timothy Spall who played him, and he was absolutely fantastic. That man is just love him. Still the radish though. Still will always be for the radish.
Then you've got like Robert Collier. He's done loads of stuff. He was in Corrie, for you soap fans. He was in The Crown. He's been in Downton. He's done a lot of like that stuff. So
he is Thomas in Downton Abbey.
I have never seen it. I do not want to. It does not appeal to me in the slightest. But yes, I've been told he's very good in that.
If you listen, he's a dick in it. But he grows on you in the end. But yeah, if you've listened to me on a Sunday, you know that Downton Abbey is one of my favorite programs of all time. It found me in the right moment. Yeah. My husband was watching a football tournament. Could not tell you which one, and I went, you know what? Let's do it. But tangent number 2, if you want a sequel to Titanic the movie, so watch Titanic the movie and then watch Downton Abbey straight away, because it is literally the day after when they get a newspaper. The opening episode of Downton is that they get the newspaper to say the Titanic has just sank, so it is a perfect follow on from each other. There you go. I'll get out my Downton moments. But yes, he wasn't in The Crown, he was in Downton.
And then there was Asher
Ali, who
I've gone blank on his surname.
Troughton,
that's it. Yeah, that was Dom and that was Phil. I haven't seen them in anything else, but apparently
where is Asher Ali?
I don't know. I've written it down, but apparently Sam was in Aliens versus Predators, AVP.
Like,
I
I
don't
can
know who he
remember that
played,
film.
but also Rafe Spall was in Prometheus. I did not know
Yes,
that.
he was.
I can't remember who he was in
I
Prometheus.
can now. I love Prometheus. I know it gets a lot of shit, and I really get angry at the end of it, but I actually really, come on, man. Just fucking step to the side of the spinny wheel. He's one of the he gets fuck me. I do remember it.
Such a long time since I've watched that one.
I can picture him in the underground scene and they get stuck there. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
But this is me. My memory isn't great. Hence the reason I write things down.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely wasn't Prometheus.
Right. Well,
But
at
I've
least
never
yeah.
but I can't say that I can remember Aliens versus Predator.
Oh, I can remember it was terrible.
It happened.
But the once they leave the cabin, they then panic because they start to see all these rooms. So they then make a decision of to follow the path, don't they? This path that they see that's carved out.
I don't know where they're seeing this path from, but
No.
if they're saying they're seeing a path, then they're seeing a path.
Well, I think Dom, didn't he? He just started to head down something that looked like a path, and they were like, "No, mate, we've got to go this way." And Dom started going a completely different direction, and they all followed him just to make life easier, which ended up making life way worse. So
because Dom's a dick.
So they're coming off the back of having a really bad nightmare. None of them know which way's up. They're all trying to find somewhere to settle down because they know nighttime's coming around again.
Yeah.
I think they cut to a bit later. And there's lots of chatting going on between them. None of them really want to talk. Phil is just like a shallow, like ghost of a man at the minute.
Yeah, he's very haunted at this point.
Yeah, I think that's the right word actually, haunted.
Yeah.
He's like, he's white, sheet white all the time. Dom's just angry. Hutch is in that sort of determination mode.
Is this where they have their fight?
Yeah, Luke's trying to be a realist, but he's also trying to see the end game, the end goal. He wants to make sure they get to where they are. So that's where they all have that massive fight, and they bring up about how it was Luke's fault that Rob died. Basically, Dom starts laying into him about it.
I genuinely think this is the first time he hears how they really feel. Yeah. Hutch, obviously being the diplomatic man that he is, stands back and just keeps telling Dom to shut the fuck up. I love his accent. I love his Manc accent where he's just like, shut the fuck up. Can you just shut the fuck up all the time? I love it. But one line of dialogue that really set my teeth on edge was, I'm not your fucking friend anymore.
What, when Dom says that?
When Luke says it to Dom, I'm not your fucking friend anymore. And I went, oh mate, man, how old are you?
But I think a lot of it is Dom had just been sniping at him for so many, like for what, 2 or 3 days at this point they were down the line, and Dom had just done nothing but snipe or make comments or just really not talk to Luke much. And when he did, it was all quite
snippy, snappy.
Yeah, so
dickish.
I think at that point, I think when you've got nothing else to think of and all you're doing is trying to get through the day to get to the next place to camp, I imagine that's where Luke's brain just went, oh fuck, I can't be bothered.
I am not your friend.
So from that point, I can understand where they got to this place, but that's when they have to find somewhere to camp, and they start talking about how to get through to the next section.
Yeah.
Don't they? And that's where they're all actually in their tents at this point. They find a little clearing. And that's when we say goodbye to number uno.
And I'm really gutted that he was the first one to go. So the nightmares start again before that even happens, and it's foreseen that a tent is gone or ripped up.
But I think it's just after Luke has the reoccurring dream of Rob's death. And I don't know if you've noticed, but every time there's more forest in the shop.
Yes, it gets more and more, doesn't it? It's like building. It starts off at quite basic,
like
shop floor,
moss floor, yeah.
Then it builds and it grows, and yes, I did.
Yeah, every time he has the nightmare or the dream, it just keeps getting more and more mossy and wooded where they are, and it's enveloping the whole dream now. So you can tell at that point that the monster's feeding, it's there, it's looking,
Well,
it's
at this when on their first encounter, their first nightmares, Luke is marked on
yeah.
his chest, which looks like a fucking someone has hoofed him in the
Mm.
chest. Literally, quite literally hoofed him in the chest.
Yeah.
And he keeps it quiet, which always bothers me. Why'd you have to keep it quiet? Why couldn't you just tell someone? But no.
I don't think at that point he felt like he could trust anyone. I think he just
Yeah.
it I think had they have got on before Dom had his big wobble, I think he might have mentioned it, but because Dom had his wobble and stormed off, he probably just thought it's just not the time to bring this up now, is it really, you know?
I mean, yeah. Who's to say, like, they have this huge fight and he's like, well, I've got this.
And I think that's where just after Luke's having his nightmare, then he turns around and he sees the tent being ripped up, but then he snaps out of it and
Yeah.
he hears them screaming.
Oh,
I think, doesn't he? Like
yeah.
Dom and
It's
Phil, like he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, and you
and then
see
you can hear Hutch in the background
screaming,
screaming.
absolutely screaming.
Ugh.
And I love this because you don't see the kill.
Nope. Don't need to.
No,
There is enough going on. There is enough to be scaring you. You don't need to see this kill. I don't want to see it.
no, I'm glad we didn't, because to be honest with you, it takes the mystery away. At this
Yeah.
point, you still haven't seen the
We don't know
culprit
what it is.
monster.
Yeah. We don't know what it is. I don't even think they have. I mean, good God, why would you think
Yeah.
that is what's awaiting you? Because you would not. I mean, I would now,
Yeah.
but before this, not a chance. So they obviously, it'll be a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
It could be, it must be,
Yeah.
it has to be.
Yeah.
Kind of like trying to get, sorry, my cats are going nuts in the background. They're not coming in. I'm not having another fucking episode of a podcast where I'm having been attacked by kittens or fucking dogs. They're not coming in. Sorry for anyone who's watching on YouTube. You're not seeing me cats tonight. So yeah, a lot of what ifs are going on in their head, and it clearly is not what we know it
Yeah.
eventually will become.
But it is foreshadow. I suppose this isn't the thing that foreshadows this is the death of the elk. The elk you see in the tree is
That's what I
technically
said. That's the first
yeah.
foreshadowing of, and I didn't want to spoil it until we got up to it, but it's Hutch's death.
Yeah, Hutch is killed and gutted from neck to like sternum to like groin, and everything is hanging out, and he looks exactly like the elk did in the tree. And he's also 8 to 10 feet up in the air on tree
I
spike.
wonder if a bear did it.
It was bears, clearly.
Fucking Yogi and his little friend have come out.
Boo Boo, yeah, Yogi and Boo Boo did it.
Boo Boo,
Yeah.
that's it.
And then
Speaking
like
of boo-boos.
the boys basically run around trying to find him, and in doing so I think they lose the camp as well. I don't know if you've noticed at this point, that's where
Yeah, that goes
get lost.
Yeah.
So they find Hutch, and that's when everything goes even more to shit, because Hutch was the glue. That's why they had to kill him off first.
Yeah.
Hutch was the one that kept them all together. Hutch was the practical.
Hutch could have gotten them out.
Yeah, he was the one that this was all dependent on. Him keeping his shit together meant that they would get out, they would survive. And with him gone, you know inevitably that this isn't going to go well.
Nope, it's all going to go tits up, because you've got someone who is an absolute a shell of a man. You've got someone who is clearly haunted by the spirits of something, and you've got another one who's an absolute arsehole.
Yeah.
So you really don't have a recipe of working together to get out of a situation. It isn't going to happen. Hutch is now gone. And what I really loved about Hutch's scene was they didn't close his eyes.
Yeah. He was just staring at them down, wasn't he?
Yeah, his eyes were wide open, and it makes my little soul so happy that they didn't try and touch their eyes. But what really got Dom's like, we can't just leave him here. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do with them? He was a big guy. Like,
Not just that. How did they get him down? because they end up taking the compass off him and
Yeah.
they lay him on the floor. Because then Dom has that whole moment where he wanted to cover him with twigs. Oh, they're coming in, ghosts.
Nope. Well, nope. There's a glitch in the Matrix. Black cat.
But yeah, it's
Little shit.
they get him down, they take the compass, they take the knife. I mean, to be fair, it does make sense. They're taking the things that they need to continue on with the journey. So they're at a point now where they know that they've got to make it back to wherever, but they never mention they've lost their way from the campsite, but you don't see them ever go back to the campsite, and you don't see them put extra clothes on at this point, because this is where everything starts to go wrong.
And just like everything is starting to go wrong right now. I said they weren't coming in. My cats have opened the door by themselves. Do you know what it is? It's because they don't like doors all closed. They think that they's just fucking left. They think that they're missing out on shit. So they go and open the little assholes. Oh, Loki's what? Loki's here though. Hey. That'll make sense to you in a bit.
So this is where you see Rafe has been running around trying to find something. He goes up to the top, that's it. He goes up to the top and he sees a bunch of fire, and he knows where the places they need to get to. So he runs up to the top to get a good view, realizes that it's not that far.
He looks so happy.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be so relieved to see lights and stuff.
Genuine happiness is on his face. It's not falsified. It's not fake. It's not, holy fuck, I'm going to get away from these people behind us. It's genuine happiness.
And then when he comes back down, no one's there. Phil's gone. Dom's gone. They're not there.
Nope. And he didn't go that far away from them either. Like, realistically, we walk with Luke to the top.
Yeah.
He didn't walk that far.
For what, maybe 5-10 minutes he was gone for, and then it was pitch black when he came back down.
Yeah.
And next thing you see is Phil shouting, because he stumbles across Phil somehow, and you see Phil get snatched by a pair of hands. That's all you see if you're not looking much.
My skin is crawling.
And you just see the torch drops, and you just see
fucking hands,
these pair of hands, and then you see him being lifted, and then he's gone. You don't see much more than that. He can't find Dom. He's just paralyzed with fear at that point. And all you do is you watch the classic torch roll come down where it hits the ground and it's covered in blood because it's red, so you know things aren't good. That's your first warning sign that and then he finally finds Dom squatting behind a log or something, doesn't he? And they're standing there, they're like, what the hell do we do? What, where do we go from here? What was that? I don't know. And then do they stumble upon this is the bit I can't remember.
So they get chased.
That's
and
it.
They get chased by something what they can't actually make out, but they are getting chased, and they fight their way, because it literally is a fight, into the door.
Yeah.
It's like, to be honest, at this point, it's like one's trying to push the other. You go, no, and they get through the door and they both land in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. It's the door they don't want to be behind, but they feel like it's the safest place to be. And this is just where it goes all tits. We said it goes all tits up earlier. This is the worst.
Yeah, this isn't great.
Yeah, they get held captive by the locals. Yeah, the local people hold them captive. I think Dom doesn't get a smack across the face, but Luke does, because Luke's knocked out and on the floor, and Dom's awake. Dom has an idea of what's going on. He knows there's people outside, and Luke gets a chance to see them from like a little hole he makes in the fence.
Yeah,
wall,
in the
wooden wall.
Bit. Yeah.
And they can see that they're preparing an altar. It's an altar. It's a sacrificial altar.
Yeah. There's
no two ways about what they are making there. That fucking door's doing my head in. Sorry. There's no two ways about what they're actually making. It's an altar. Yeah. Even though I don't think he tells them that.
No.
I don't remember him telling them, like, why would he? But I think Dom soon starts to realize his own mortality, because he tells Luke his dream
Yeah,
and
and he's
why
like,
he was shouting Gale.
yeah, and he's like, this is it for me, mate. Just promise me you'll burn this fucking place down. Is
Yeah.
what he says to Luke.
And
Luke,
Luke's just, it's the way he says, but I don't have to do that. I don't have to do it because we're gonna go out to eat together. We're gonna burn this together. I don't have to tell your wife shit. I
Mhm.
loved the way Rafe Spall played that moment, because regardless of what happened on that hill and whatever feelings that they felt for each other at that time, it didn't mean jack shit in that moment.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I loved that.
it was a really good setting the scene for like the next bit to Dom's frame of mind, because Dom had sort of half accepted his fate at this
Yeah.
point. But at the same time, you could see he was so petrified because they took him out, they beat him up, and then they threw him back in again. And then he was just like, look, I know this is what's going to happen to me. Next thing you know, they're pulling him out and they put him on the it's not a crucifix, it's the elk sign, isn't it? They
Yeah.
stretch him out on a giant Nordic rune, basically, as a sacrifice, for
What we are about to witness.
yeah, which is Moda
Moda.
or Moda,
Let's
depending on
let's
how you
let
pronounce it.
let's just I'm gonna give you my handwritten description as I was watching this because I paused it, right? Creature has human hands with a horse-like face, 4 legs, antlers, eyes, a spine, and it's really fucking scary. That's exactly what I wrote as I was watching it.
It is genuinely one of the most, I have to say, the ingenuity and the
It's a
just
good
the
word.
thought process that went into this by his name is Keith Thompson, who did
Oh,
the concept design for Moda. He was also responsible for the Cenobites in Hellraiser for 2022 remake, or whatever you want to.
fuck
So this
yes.
guy knows how to use skin, and if you go on his website, I think it's something like Keith Thompson Art or something like that. You see a lot of his sketches, and they
Yeah.
are messed up. It is the stuff of nightmares. This guy knows how to give you the ick through just a drawing. So
I don't think ick was the word. It was terrifying, but
yeah, you
more just, what the fuck am I looking at right here? There is so many pieces to you that I can't quite figure it out. The creature in mention in this one is referred to as Loki's bastard child.
yeah,
It's not in the book.
it's not in lore either.
No. Oh well, I've got creature is based on
Yeah,
Jota
it's a
from
Jotun from the
Jotun. That's it. You don't
Jotunheim. Yeah,
pronounce the J, do you?
yeah,
From Greek mythology, throughout the movie, the creatures two. Oh, that's one of my notes. Throughout the
yeah.
movie, the creatures two eyes can be seen.
Yeah, it's the way they sculpted him. It took me probably 2 watches to realize it was 2 different corpses for the face. So
What?
yeah, so the top half is someone holding antlers and no head, like a decapitated. So it's
Ah,
exactly like that.
right.
Then it gets cut off at the groin area, at
Mm-hmm.
which, or it's the groin, it's one other way, or it's the feet with the antlers attached, and the neck area is where the eyes see through, and
Yeah.
that's where the hands come from underneath. So there's that secondary
Ah,
set of
that.
hands. Now there's a second set of hands from the original fate, and they're down by the crutch. So you've got
How
four
many
sets.
fucking hands do you need?
You've got 2 sets of hands and 2 sets of hooves. So you've got 8 in all, which is why they think they have borrowed from the Norse
Um,
of Slipnir,
yeah.
the 8-legged
I've
horse.
right. I've got, hold on. So I've got the creature bears resemblance to the beast of Selvic folklore, the Leshki. Am I saying
There's,
that right?
there's so many different
It's
versions
a
of,
wood guardian spirit that takes a variety of forms.
yeah. basically he's an elemental to a degree, but he's also got the powers to he lives on fear and
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I mean he depends on worship through fear for his strength and its power. Now, technically the word moder translates in Swedish to mother. So it is a female.
Norse of yes, that's it. That's what
even
it
though
is in the book.
yeah, so even though it's classed as bastard son of Loki, and in theory, most of the monsters that Loki had given, you know, they were with Angraboda, who was his
Yes.
wife, and she was the mother of monsters. That was her title. So she gave birth to Fenrir, she gave birth to the world serpent, and Hela. They were the three children of Loki.
Yes.
But
Love.
obviously
Love.
people think that Loki, Hela is Loki's sister when he's not. It's
Oh, that's just Marvel history. That's
yeah,
my friends.
I mean, but people will take that as read, won't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
So.
if you want a really good book that is of because I've tried, I love Norse mythology. Neil Gaiman brought out an excellent one on Norse mythology. The stories in that are mwah. I went into it thinking, fuck yeah, Thor's my guy. Fucking love him. He's absolutely
He's
great.
nice.
He's a fucking douchebag. He's an asshole douchebag. And no, my guy, my Lolo, that's what I call Loki. My Loki is standing at the end of the world, at the end of Ragnarok, and he fucking survived. Yes. Yes, that's who my kitty cat is named after.
But they think that Sleipnir
Hello.
was the bastard child of Loki because there was a horse, and it basically it was all based around the bet. The bet of the
Yes.
giant that was disguised as a human that had a horse, and the bet was that he would have Freya and he would have some other things if he could get this thing built, like the walls built in a time.
Freya fuck you.
Yeah, she said, fuck you, no. And the men in the council and Odin that were like, if you do it in a day, you can have all those things. And they were like, it's an
Yes.
impossible task, you'll never get it done. But he was edging towards getting it done. So they tasked Loki with the job of distracting him to the point of where they wouldn't have to give the guy his due. So Loki disguised himself as a female horse, ran off with the horse of the guy that owned that was trying to build this wall. And because the horse was a super strong horse and Loki was clearly a god of mischief, that horse, Loki then gave birth himself to Sleipnir, which is an 8-legged horse, which is therein why they think that Moder has 8 legs in this, even though it's 4 hands and 4 hooves. Yeah. That's what they base the look on.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that story.
Yeah. So it's messed up when you start going into it. You're like, Jesus Christ, that family needs some help. But
well, yeah. Look who their dad is.
But Odin then took Sleipnir and it became Odin's horse. Sleipnir became Odin's what he rode on all the time. So
that's true. Well, the way that the monster hangs its victims mirrors the part of God, you are gonna have to apologize. I'm gonna have to apologize severely for my pronunciation here. Part of the Astara mythology about Odin, who originally gained wisdom and knowledge from the rune magic by hanging upside down from a tree. Oof. So yeah,
no, thank you.
But Odin was all about knowledge. Yeah, and that's why obviously he gives his eye up. I was gonna wear I have a beautiful Odin Raven necklace, and I was gonna wear it tonight, and then I thought no one's actually gonna see it. They won't be able to see it. I absolutely adore. Adore, is that a word? Should I use that word when I'm talking about Norse mythology? I love when I get on Norse TikTok as well. Like I am living for these people who really follow the way of the old, like really follow the way of the gods. They use these deities as deity is the right word. To maneuver through their life. I love it. Fucking living for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where sorry. Hello. Are you okay? No, we're recording.
Shit, sorry.
Hi, Rob.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave you to it.
Speak to you in a bit.
Oh
We
my
had a
god! So
visitor.
it's
Yes,
not
on the
just
podcast.
it's not just me who gets interrupted today. Awesome. Oh,
Yes, on the podcast.
I'd have Rob on here in a heartbeat. I'm just saying that.
If you wanted to get banned from YouTube. But yeah, it's the whole thing about the Norse mythology section on this and about Moda itself. Moda is actually, as well, I found a whole section. Now, this could be complete balderdash and a load of old rubbish. Actually, Rob found this section, not me. And it was about the Moda as we see it here in the, I don't know if you can see that very well.
Oh yes, I see it. For our audio listeners, you will not.
No, but it's a visual picture of
Mhm.
how Moda is represented in the movie. He's also a D&D character.
Oh shit.
They've either made him a D&D character, or somewhere in the lore at some point she was, because it's basically, it says here, Moda is a demigod, granting the followers a cruel form of immortality. She stalks and marks wood devotees, plaguing them with guilt-ridden dreams that cause the victim to either submit to the promise of eternal life or else be sacrificed for their defiance. She is a nature demigod.
Oh.
So she is a demigod, which makes sense because she's Loki's kid, so she would be a demigod.
Yeah, she would be.
It
That's
says
interesting.
here, this thing fascinated me though, but she appears as a gigantic elk-like monster with a skeletal head that resembles a human torso topped with antlers in place of legs, a pair of human-like hands and a pair of bright yellow eyes where the crotch should be. Gigantic spikes protrude along the spine and his body is overgrown with plant-like matter. And basically what it goes on to say that if you worship Moda, she grants you immortality, basically. But the catch with the immortality is so grim. You're immortal, but your body isn't. Because when he goes into the church upstairs, you know, when he finds them worshipping upstairs, when he breaks free, and there's all those mummified people. They're all alive.
Yes, but that's another thing that I wrote down is what the fuck is with them people?
Yeah, they are all devotees and worshippers of Moda, that Moda's granted eternal life. They're not dead. They're still there, but their bodies aren't. So this is the catch of worshipping Moda. You can live forever, but your body won't.
Oh, fuck that. Fuck no. Whoever did the special effects makeup artist on the dead was fucking amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't find it out.
The dried up skin, the pulled back features, I just hate the fact that I loved it.
Yeah, because he breaks free and he goes upstairs into the church area. And
that's when Dom's bit the dust. So
yeah, at this point, Dom's been put on a tree.
So he gets the tree treatment too, but he sees Gale before he sees what is actually in front of him, and that's what freaked me out. The fucking hands,
Just the eyes.
Oh, the fucking hands. Didn't like the hands. Yeah. So he sees his wife first, which I loved. I like the fact he got that moment before the realization of holy fucking shit. And yeah, Dom gets pierced onto a tree, and bye bye Dom. So we are solely just with Luke at the end.
On a little side note, I forgot to mention that Phil is the only one, when impaled on the tree, is facing the wrong way. Phil's death was literally, you didn't get to see it until the lads were running past what happened to him. And it's very quick, but you see Phil is facing towards out of the forest, or into the forest, however you want to look at it.
Do you think that's something to do with the fact of it's worshipping?
You know, they felt like he
had his back towards them.
Yeah, he wasn't prepared to worship, because if you look at all the other corpses, they're all facing in. But there was a fan theory that the woman worshipper that talks to Luke, that explains about Moda a little bit, was the child of the couple of the family that they found the tent for earlier on, which we didn't mention, but they find an old tent all grown over, and they find a wallet and it's got a picture of a family and credit cards, and they reckon that woman was the child in the photo of the family photo, and that had been there since the 80s, so it would make sense.
She could speak English. Everyone else was speaking to them in their native language,
Yeah.
and she was the only one who could communicate with them. And Luke does escape his shackles, which looks really piss poorly put together. He does
By
escape
breaking his
them,
thumb.
and what we forgot to mention, we all over the place, but
Mhm.
a witch.
A witch,
The
witch,
witch.
a witch.
The witch. So the witch, before Dom's bit the dust, comes in to, it's to pick, isn't it? Because at this point, Dom hasn't been picked for sacrifice yet until she's met both of them.
Yeah.
And she meets him, and when she realizes she has the mark, that's when Dom's fate is sealed.
Yeah.
Now she does the weirdest thing possible, and he's like, she pulls his top down to see the mark, and then goes, "Oh, child, look at mine! I got the same."
Yeah.
Totally reminds me of a story from when I went to Camden Market for the first time. I was 19 years old, and I was so excited, like, got it, like just a goth fantasy. And we were warned that there was a lot of dodgy shops, and to be careful with them. You could tell which ones were which, just stay away. And as we're walking down the street, my friend who had on tartan trousers with, suspenders and everything, very much the punk kind of look. This guy went, you like punk? You like tartan? I got loads of tartan trousers. Come with me, come with me. And we go into what looks like a shop. So it has a counter, but it has stacks upon stacks of t-shirts everywhere. And he goes, come with me in the back. And I'm saying to my friend, fuck no, don't do it. Don't do it. But someone actually does buy something in this shop. They do show us a back. Honestly, it looked like something out of a movie. It was a back entrance to another warehouse that just had shitloads of tartan trousers in. It was so surreal. But as we were getting served, the woman who served us went, so do you live the punk lifestyle? Do you really, really live the punk lifestyle? And she went, you got tattoos? You got tattoos? And we're all like, yeah, we've got tattoos. And she goes, have you got one of these? And she literally pulls her top down, and she's got a swatch sticker tattooed on her chest. I just went, get the fuck out of here now. And I fucking darted out. I was so shocked. And it totally took me back to that moment when that witch went whoosh, and pulled her top down.
To be clear, punks and swastikas are not, they don't work together.
They don't go hand in hand.
You're talking about
totally...
a skinhead. You're talking
Yeah.
about the old, like, Nazi skinheads. You're not talking about the skinhead movement of the 80s, 70s.
Yeah.
You're not talking about that. You're talking
No.
about a
Yeah.
Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah. Yep. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I've never ran so quickly. Like, no purchase was made. No money was exchanged. We just got the fuck out of there. But fuck me, when she did that, it totally took me back to that moment. This is like nearly 20 odd year ago. And where she pulls her top down to reveal that she has the same marking as him. So therefore, he's not going to be sacrificed. It's going to be poor little Dom. But yes, he escapes. And the funniest fucking part of this film is watching Luke punch that woman.
Punch the witch.
I wanted to bring the witch up just to mention that moment because it was so funny.
Basically, he just set fire to the entire congregation upstairs in the loft. And then he comes down and she's just standing there looking at him. And he just, you can see it's an instant decision. It's not something he was prepared to do. He weren't walking downstairs, let me at him, he weren't like that. It was just out of nowhere.
He just like hesitates and just goes, oh, don't.
Yeah, you see him take one look at her, and he could have just pushed her. But no, he literally
he bopped her.
Sucker punches her right in the face, and all you hear is bang, and it's like, oh, she'd be dead. I think
why do I find stuff like that funny? It's like in Captain Marvel, where I know that that's not a real old woman, it's a scroll behind it, but I still laugh me arse off at it.
I think there's a thing though, isn't it? That is another layer to the British humour in this, because we find pain funny. Slapstick is something we've grown up with, so therefore it sort of falls a little bit into the realm of you hurt yourself, it's funny. Yeah. So
it's true, because the minute I hurt myself, I either cry or I laugh. One of the two is going to happen.
So Luke gets to the point where he's done everything. He's pretty much he's almost on his way out, and then the woman that was talking to him to explain to him about what he's got to do and how he's supposed to worship Loki, who is the one that we think is the daughter from the campsite, he steals her eyes and he kills her as Luke's trying to exit. Which I thought, why
did he steal her eyes?
I think she said something about you don't look it in the eyes.
Oh, and she did.
And I think she might have done, or he took her eyes for telling Luke what he needed to do. There was something, I don't know whether I missed it or it just wasn't said, but he took her eyes and then she was dead on the floor. So they all have eternal life until Modar kills them, or they're technically
Well,
killed.
yeah, because that's the gift that can be given or taken away, and they can just take it away whenever they want to. So Luke makes it. So this bit really confused the life out of me, was the scene where they're face to face with each other.
Yeah.
So Luke comes face to face with the monster, and the monster makes Luke bow, which I understood.
Yeah.
Worship. All this fucking thing wants us to be worshipped.
Yeah, because that's how it gets its strength. Yeah.
It's not really asking a lot for someone just to bend down, but he does that. Luke is forcefully bent down. Now, the creature then does the same to him. It bows.
I think it's trying to thank him for his worship.
Is that what it's doing?
That's what I kind of got the image. He's like, if you bow, I will say thank you for you bowing to me. Therefore, we have a mutual respect here, and you will then be bestowed with your immortal life. That's where the process starts. Like it's an exchange of a.
That makes sense. I was just wondering why they were having a bow off with each other.
Well, it felt like part of what the ritual or ceremony would be to get him to that point of accepting the eternal life.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking of. But Luke escapes after he does get put down a couple of times, like, get on your knees.
Yeah.
And then Luke escapes, and this is probably one of the most emotional parts of the movie, is when he gets out of the fucking forest.
But just before that, it's that shot, which to me is, even though it is CGI, it is one of the most beautiful shots of the entire movie. Just after Modar's literally reared up, and Modar's doing the praying hands above the head.
Yes.
And you see the whole shot.
The whole body.
And it looks incredibly totem-like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're someone who's watched, say, Hannibal, or you are into the Norse gods, totems are still a massive thing.
Yeah.
About how they worship, because it's how they show their gods. And it just looks so stunning, that. And then to go into the cabin being burnt down in the background, and you see, this is where you see the full silhouette of Modar, because it's literally just fire and silhouettes. That's all it is. There's not really any other coloring, but there's something so absolutely breathtaking about that shot.
Beautiful shot. It really is. I didn't care that there was no practicality in that whatsoever. And that is one of the times that you've got to be so creative. You've got the tools to be so creative.
Yeah. And
you come up with that. Like, that's what it's meant for.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then Luke gets the fuck out of Dodge. And he gets out. And this is actually something that I found when I was reading, I wasn't looking for meaning or hidden meaning, but just something of an explanation as to to help us clarify what I was thinking about the characters and their well-being and their thought process. Was the scream at the end,
where they're screaming at each other.
Yeah,
because Modar stops on the tree line, because Modar cannot leave the tree line because of.
I bet they wish they knew that earlier.
Well, you think, wouldn't you? Because that's its domain. That's its that's its border. It can't come out. Plus, it was incredibly weakened due to the fact that all the worshippers have been killed at that point.
Yeah.
Because Luke had killed off half the congregation, and then Modar got angry and started killing off all the live worshippers that were left, and so it was in a weakened state. But you could see it was like trying to call him back,
like, please.
Yeah, that's the kind of impression I got. It was like maybe almost like a desperate beg towards Luke, and Luke was too angry, so Luke was just giving rage, like all that pent up stress and guilt and everything that led up
Luke was,
in this movie all come out when he was screaming back, and they were just doing this exchange of screams, and it was just like
I nearly cried at that moment. And it's more when Rodar stops screaming and he keeps on going, and it's all that pent up frustration, all that guilt, all that fear. It's all fucking gone because he fucking won.
Yeah.
He got out. He survived. He was the one, and he was brave. There's a lot. He probably has thought to himself throughout this whole thing, I'm not brave. I'm not a brave person. Look what happened with my friend. I am not. And he was brave.
Yeah.
And then I just wrote down, as he's walking away, how the fuck does he explain this one?
It's exactly what I thought. I mean, how do you go back and say to the wives of these people, they're all dead because a big handy monster with a face, body face.
So do you know how you think I'm responsible for one of my friends' deaths? Well, you're gonna fucking love me now.
Can't tell you where they are, but they're in there somewhere.
But that's what I think. That's why I think that Luke was chosen for.
Yeah.
Was, the guilt, fear, lack of bravery. But I really think it's because Luke had nothing to go back to. Yeah. Luke has nothing
to lose.
He's got nothing to lose, nothing to live for. These people had and I know in the book they explain how we believe that they have this great life. They actually don't. It's all to shit. It's all to fuck. And they go into that in more detail in the book. But in this, Luke's so authentic in his life than what they are in what society classes as a normal life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not talking at me awesome.
I've just reminded myself, I did make notes on the special effects. So it is part practical and part CGI.
Right.
The practical is the hands and the face and the eyes.
That makes sense, because fuck me, them hands were creepy.
And it was built by Russell EFX for the sequences where the creature interacts with the actors. Obviously they removed all the bits with the digital tools to get rid of the body and stuff like that, but the head itself is still in existence. I've seen a photo of it, where the actual body of the actor was in, and they said that it was the best way to get emotion from Luke at the time and Dom, because it was coming up close with the actual monster themselves, so they had something to act with. So when you do see the shot where Dom's about to die and his hands are caressing, like Gail's caressing his cheeks, and then it turns out it's the monster doing the same thing, that's practical effects. That is a practical build they made. Also,
that is so impressive.
Peeping in the door as well, that bit where he's just poking in the door after he's taken that woman's eyes. That's practical effects as well.
That stays in my head rent free. I generally thought, I'm not gonna lie, I thought looking at it, there's no fucking way they could do this practically. Like, it's too clean, it's too precise, there's so many moving parts to it. But holy shit, that is fucking amazing that there's some practicality in it.
Well, the other thing that got me was it was made on an incredibly small budget.
Yeah.
It was made, well, I say that by today's terms, I don't have this money in the bank. It's not incredibly small to me. It's fucking huge. But still, by the norms of movie making budgets, they only had $1 million to make this movie.
That's not a great deal in movie films, but guessing that you are on prime location, and that is your set, you've taken all of that expense out of sets.
Yeah, basically they could film. This is a lot to do with why they went to Romania, because the labor laws in Romania are a little bit more relaxed about how long they could shoot for and how long they could
right, okay, so but they're not exploiting people like a certain director did.
Well, not to my knowledge anyway. They didn't say so when I did my homework on this, but they were saying the labor laws were more relaxed, so they could film at night. They didn't probably need permits as much as they did, and some of the fire scenes probably didn't mean that there was like 42 fire engines standing by ready to douse everything. Do you know what I mean? I think it was a lot more relaxed in that sense. So they only had $1 million to make this. It had a very limited run in the theatres, only in the UK for Fright Fest and around that time. And in that
Really?
time, it made 1 million in box office in the time it had the short theatrical release. Then Netflix bought it straight from Fright Fest.
Yes, that's
And they
right.
paid 4 point something 2-3 million for it. I think it was something like that.
Honestly, well worth the money.
And so in theory, the movie actually made that it paid for itself with the theatrical release and then made 4 point something million from Netflix's deal. But now it's on Amazon. It's been sold out to Amazon. So I actually watched it on Amazon. So, you know, free of charge, obviously, but it's been sold to Amazon via Netflix. So God knows if Andy Serkis's company got anything from the sale of that as well, which I would think if he was clever enough, he would have done.
Oh, there would have been a deal somewhere. I did not use normal services to watch this.
I will say though, I did find a couple of interesting things. There was a guy on YouTube who had calculated the approximate height and weight of Modor, which I thought was quite interesting. He was saying that the average male elk, which is when it's referred to as the bastard son of Loki, he said if we take it as a male for that reason, he said is around 900 pounds. Like we're talking about the elks that we know in Norway and in Sweden, not like an American elk, which is like a reindeery type, but proper elks, which are kind of more like like a moosey type thing. The average one is around around 900 pounds. So he estimated it at 14 feet tall.
Fuck.
And that it weighed 2,340 pounds plus 150 pounds of human that was tied onto it and attached to it. So it came out at 2,490 pounds of weight. So, I mean, that's over 2.5 tons.
That's going to hurt if it sits on your mind.
And this is why I couldn't understand. Well, after I watched that bit, I thought he bowed Luke down and he patted on his back. That would have broken him.
He pushed him down to the floor. Like, bitch, get down. My goodness.
But yeah, also, did you know it has a kill count?
Have we got a contender?
It's up there. We're not talking you're dying to know who I am, aren't you? We're not in Graham / the Invisible Man territory, but we are at a healthy 24.
Oh.
Now you don't think so because you think, oh, it's only 3, because you think Hutch, Dom, and you think Phil.
Yeah.
No, the congregation, all the worshippers, and they said Rob gets put into the kill count as well from the movie. So there's 24 in total according to kill count itself. So I was quite surprised at that because I wasn't expecting that many.
Interesting. I mean, for one movie, it still does not, surpass my Lord and Savior Claude Rains, who's sitting above my head, that I realize no one can actually see.
But Michael surpassed him, didn't he? If I'm right in saying
Michael is our reigning kill count champion.
Yeah.
Jason is runner-up with 10 behind Michael. Claude Rains is 3rd.
Yeah. But still, I mean, 24
he's still up there.
24, we're still way really above good count. A lot. So I mean, from that point of view, I'm fairly impressed for a very, very small cast, with a very small budget, with an amazing, breathtaking artwork, like CGI effects team that haven't had enough love because I've never even heard of them.
No. And what they managed to accomplish in this movie, like, don't get us wrong, I wasn't like shit me pants scared, but it's an eerie, scary feeling, especially like you think this movie is one thing from the very, and I think that opening scene is perfect because it throws you completely into what you're about to actually go into.
Yeah.
You don't feel like that's where you'd never in a million years think that is what's going to happen, because the opening scene sets it up so differently. You think that's where the main plot point is, not what it actually is, where a big massive horse comes after you. And that's all I kept thinking of.
Yeah, you know, on the face of it, it's a lad's holiday movie, and you're just like, oh Christ, is this going to be like the in-betweeners in the late 30s going
Who
into
just
it?
decided to go hiking.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why people would think that. It's British humor. It's for lads on
It's
holiday
British
with
movie making
backpacks.
and it's just fucking fantastic. We
Ev-
do good movies. I love our movies.
The one thing I do like about this, though, is that I think his name was Robert Bruckner, the director. He had hardly any experience when it came to full length movies going into this. He was responsible for a short on one of the VHS anthologies.
Yes, he
He,
was.
oh
And
God,
that raised a question with me when I saw that. Do you think this movie, sorry, I've got to let you back. Do you think this movie could have worked as a found footage movie?
probably, but I think for me, it would have taken away an element of the human experience that you get with this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Um,
You'll never get the opening scene, that's for damn sure. If they were following from book,
yeah.
they could have quite easily fitted into found footage horror.
Um, yeah, no, I agree. I've got this thing at the minute where I've been trying to get into Hell House LLC, and for the love of
Yeah,
money, I can't do it. But people
that's
on the page keep telling me, persevere, watch it, watch it. And I did ask everybody on the page what found footage movies that they, they would recommend. And to be honest with you, I didn't realize how many I've actually seen
there's
when I was
quite a
going through the
lot.
comments. I was like, oh geez, there's only a couple I've not heard of on here. But for me, I have a love-hate relationship with found footage, not for any other reason than I'm not putting them in the same Blumhouse wheel of my
Thank
hatred.
God.
The found footage for me is it's just love and hate. You either get ones that are absolutely fantastic,
Mm,
or you get some that are terrible. And I don't
that's
include
true.
documentary style in there. I'm not
No.
including documentary style. So, things like I think is it The Taking of Deborah Logan? That's like a documentary style. It's the
Take
one with
no. Yes, yes, and
the
it's
one with the old lady that yeah.
I fucking adore that movie. The actual nuance to it, the whole thing is dementia, a dementia patient and the coping and the mind and oh, it is so fucking brilliant.
Because then you've got like on the flip side, you've got films like As Above, So Below. Now that had the makings of a fantastic found footage movie.
Hmm.
However, the lead woman just annoyed me so much. It made me dislike the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but it had all the makings of a fantastic idea, and
Hmm.
to this day, I still believe it would have been better with a different female lead. But that's personal opinion. It's not necessarily, So for me, there's love-hate relationships with a lot of these movies, and I don't think this would have worked because you don't feel what Luke's going through
I
in a found footage.
there was certain scenes I could have gotten away with it being found footage, and I was just looking at it going, this it could have worked in this way, it could have worked this way. But when if you take that score out of because you never get music, you're never going to get music in a found footage horror. Um, if you take that score out of this movie, you lose half of its soul. And it wouldn't have the same effect. That score is absolutely perfect. Everything Dan said about it earlier, but also its volumes and level, like
Yeah.
the level volumes to it, it's quiet in certain places, it's loud in others, and it doesn't just, it's not in a sense guiding you on how you should be feeling, because you should be feeling uncomfortable throughout this whole fucking experience, and that's what the score does for you.
But that also, the score goes in line with the fact that you don't realize you've been seeing Modar since the beginning.
Hmm.
The beast has literally been stalking them since they wandered into that forest and they took that shortcut.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it again.
If you watch it again, you count how many times from the beginning when they walk into the forest before they meet it, you see it in the
Hmm.
background, regardless of whether it's just the creepy fingers around that tree trunk when Luke makes it
I
up to
saw
the
that.
top,
So I did
or
see that one.
yeah, in the background you see it sneak past trees, or you'll just see a quick whoosh of something in the background, but it's all too high to be people. So it's big.
Ah.
So you've always got, because you're looking at the characters, your eye level's here. So they're
Mhm.
making you focus on the characters, but then you'll see a quick psh in the background, and before you realize, when you go to see, it's gone.
The
So
crafty bastards.
it is very, very good. What do they call it? In magic, there's a
Is it
word.
what the magic fucking eye pictures? Because I can't see shit when I look through them. I
There's
am Ethan Spaulding in Mallrats.
there's a name for it. It's like a distraction method. Like, look over here, and then the magician does something over here, so you don't see it
Yeah.
because you're looking over here. It's very much that.
Oh.
So you see it, but you don't realize you've seen it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very clever. You don't actually physically see the whole thing until the reveal at the end, but you see parts and bits and pieces, and your brain can't quite function it because the trees are constantly in the way.
Them
And
trees.
it's just always in between the trees, watching or stalking or doing
I
whatever
am.
it's doing. So
I went to a log cabin with forest surrounding it for my 40th birthday, and I'm going back there in September. I won't be taking some of the nature trails that I did when I went the first time, because holy shit the bed, them trees, the minute I saw them I was like, fuck, that just looks like where I was. Like, oh no, I don't want to be chased by a big massive horse. Saying that, I did see a deer.
are you sure?
Well, not now.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, don't. That's one of mine in answering jokes. Gonna get, we're coming to get you, Barbara. It just reminds us of the Shaun of the Dead one.
Yeah.
Have
I
we
want
got
a
any more?
cornetto.
I
Um,
fancy a cornetto, actually. My throat is on fire at the minute.
Got to be a mint one though, because I'm a mint fan. So
I'm a mint girl as well.
I think, to be honest with you, I think I've pretty much covered everything. I've got a lot of notes, but I think we covered it as we went along. I mean, I don't give out praise, as most of you will know that's regular listeners to this podcast. Danielle doesn't really give out praise that often to movies.
That is a
Probably
true statement.
yeah. The only one I thought sort of really got giddy with that I actually was incredibly passionate about was the Blob remake, the 88 remake. And I will say that, other than Planet of the Apes that we talked about last week on King Kong, anything with Andy Serkis and monkeys, this has to be up there of the ones we've covered in respect of my pure enjoyment of it, because this is definitely a 4.5 out of 5 for me, which is high praise that Danielle has
That's
given out.
really high praise. I love this movie for so many reasons. And the characters in it, the actual monster, the reasonings for why Luke was picked. Why Luke? I love
Yeah.
I loved every single part of it. The casting of it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The music, the colors in the fucking sky. I'm not joking, people. If you go and watch this movie after you've listened to this, or if you've seen it before, tell me that the fucking sky isn't absolutely stunning.
Mm.
I absolutely loved it. And I got so excited after I watched it. I got actually excited leading up to it, because I remembered watching it thinking, I remember there's something in this. I do remember there's some form of creature. I just couldn't remember what that creature was. And then when I fucking started to go and have a look at some pictures, I was like, oh yeah.
This thing was
That
so
one.
cleverly made. It's unlike anything you've ever seen.
Mm-mm.
And you can't compare, you can compare it to an elk because that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
But other than that, what I mean is, like, movie monsters wise, there is nothing I can single out to say it
And
reminds me of this or it
yeah.
reminds me of that. It
It's
is
such a
so,
unique monster
yeah.
especially for our list of the ones that we've covered so far, have been a lot of, apart from take the blob out, because that's a blob. But the rest of them have been all human-based monsters, and the monster that's living inside humans. We've not really covered anything mythological. I can't speak. Why is English failing me tonight?
Mythological.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My goodness. I mean, you wouldn't think it's like nearly 11:15 at night, and we've both been to work all day.
There is that.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
why English could be not on my side tonight. But yeah, it's just a really different monster, and this is what we plan on doing in this year, is to be doing the different, to be doing the unusual, not so much looking at the human element of a monster, because that is really what we have focused on primarily. That, don't get us wrong, we're still gonna do some.
We've still got plenty to
We
do,
still
but
got
yeah.
plenty. Fuck me if we got plenty. But we
You
want to
get me
look at
back to
some.
the Alfida Zone pet thing with that.
Yes.
Yeah, now even.
I am not a Geordie, but I'm very, very close.
Yeah.
To some people who listen to us through Spotify or iTunes, I probably do sound like a Geordie. Anth always says that I sound like Cheryl Cole during recordings. I don't hear it. I'm
my
from
literally the
Sunderland.
limit of my Geordie accent is um
Go on.
Vic and Bob doing their Sinead skit where they say to Sinead O'Connor, "Hello, Sinead. Do you go for a poo before you go on stage?" And that's about it. And it goes a bit Sarah Millican there, but that's where I am with that one.
And she's from Shields. Um, obviously, to me, it doesn't sound any different. Um, for anyone who doesn't know, I am from Sunderland, which is right next door to Newcastle. We are rivals in football, but not in real life. We actually are, Geordies are absolutely lovely people, salt of the earth. And our accents are very similar. They speak Geordie, we speak Macam, even though if you heard someone who had a Macam accent, you would say, Sammy, you don't have a Macam accent.
I can hear the difference. I know the difference between a Geordie and a Macam. When you put two of them in a room, I can hear the difference. It's just certain words you guys say totally different. That's all.
Yeah.
And you have a slightly different twang to the way you speak.
We don't say what as they do. What as they do. Like, honestly, it's literally just down the road from us. Yeah. Geordies and Macams there.
And I'm a Bitzer, so I wouldn't worry about where I come from. My accent's all over the bloody place.
The one episode I've only ever felt out of place, because obviously I'm surrounded by northern folk all the time, was when Gareth was on. I never felt like I was like, oh, I'm the odd one out one here. Even when we had Mike on, he's from my area.
Two West Londoners together,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, luckily we haven't got my dad on, because if we had my dad ever on, I'd be all summing at nothing and speaking all like that, and I'd be putting down like what I sound like normally. Like, I don't say like that often, because I ain't like not Essex, because I don't speak like that, like with the Essex girls. And
I love the Essex accent.
But everything has to be so drawn out, because they have to think about things a bit more, so they speak very slowly.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas my side, we're all like running at everything's got to be really done, because you can't. I just ain't got bloody time for this. You know what I mean? So.
I do between West London. Before we come on live, I do intimidate, like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't intimidate you at all.
Impersonate.
I do impersonate Dan sometimes with some of the things she says.
That's all right. My terrible with Alfida Zane pet pronunciation.
That was
living infamy now. So
it's just funny.
It's out there.
Next week.
Yes.
Next week. So we said we are heading through a time of difference, and holy shit, are we going to be doing something different next week? Do you want to announce it? You announce it. Go on.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, when you think of Halloween, you think of a certain vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
If that vegetable was nothing like the vegetable, but you just used the name pumpkin, and then it had a head, you'd have the movie Pumpkinhead, that doesn't have anything to do with vegetables. But we're doing Pumpkinhead.
One of my favorite Misfits songs is called Pumpkinhead, and it is based on the movie Pumpkinhead. So yes, next week we are heading down. I don't know how to describe
Stan Winston special is where we're heading down.
There we
So
go. Dan brought the normality there.
yeah,
Stanley.
it's directed by Stan Winston. So this is going to be something special for those of you who don't know. There's a lot to this movie that we can hark back to a lot of the movies we've already covered, because there's a lot of guys in this movie, special effects wise, character wise, that we've already covered in episodes. So I'm
I've not seen it. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah,
I
it's a
I know the
strange one. It's a
I know the
strange one.
reference to it. I know that Pure Horror has a giant one in her living room that is just crazy to me.
I've stood in front of that thing and I can assure you it bloody stares you out. It's yeah. I've told her if she's
I
ever
would
to sell it, I
hate
want it. So
I would hate to think how tall you stand to that fucking
probably
thing.
it's groin. I've got to be fair. Probably just its lower like stomach. The thing is like hunched up. The way it's been molded, Pure Horror's Pumpkinhead replica, it's literally hunched down so it can actually be in the room. But if it was to stand full, it would be taller than a normal ceiling. This thing is huge.
This is how much I am a social media whore. Is that I know that belonged to a Fistful of Horror before Pure Horror had it, because I saw his house tour and he had it and then she had it. Yeah, need to get off my fucking phone.
And then if she sells it, I might have it. So we'll see.
Yes, and next week we're all getting excited for Pumpkinheads. I'm really excited about it. I am wanting to push myself this year into different categories of horror, ones that I would probably never have jumped into. So I am super duper excited.
She's so excited.
I'm so excited. And I'm very tired and my voice is starting to break.
On that note,
So we are on YouTube every Monday at 7 o'clock for Monster Monday. Our audio goes up anywhere you find your podcast from on a Tuesday. You can find all our links to our social. That's Nerdy Up North, Bleeding Marvelous, and Monsters Up North. As Dan is kindly pointing out, they are down below. So I think, is that everything? Have we covered? Yes. So the only last thing to say is goodbye, Dan.
bye, Dan.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye. And wave.